Welcome, you guys, to another recording of Couchin Courtside, where your two hosts believe that anything above 80 degrees is too hot. Because today was really hot. My name is Johnny, and as always, I'm joined here with John. John, how we doing today?
Hot. Very, very hot, Johnny. How about you?
It is, I'm kind of glad that I'm in an air conditioned store when I go to work, so I miss everything from 10 to like 6. So I do miss that kind of heat wave, but it's crazy how I would work 30 some miles or 40 something miles away from my place, and the difference between where I work and where I live is like night and day when it comes to the weather.
Yeah, sometimes I just go downstairs and just sit in my car with the AC on, you know, because I don't have AC in the house, man. It's been a bear.
Yeah, no, I hear you, dude. So got a lot to talk about today. NBA Finals related. We have some results from our bracket. But I just want to start off first. John shared me something just earlier today. PlayStation announced a new VR game called The Last Video Store. I didn't get to read a lot up into it. All I know is I saw that trailer, and you know, I would like to believe that I like being the customer that's going into it, but I don't need to be the person behind that counter again, reliving all that.
Yeah,
But it seems very immersive and just like comments. It's like very in the early stages because it got released like a couple hours ago. A lot of positive feedback so far that I've heard.
yeah, totally, man. And I just stumbled across it on RPS 5 today. Like you said, it's a VR game, and it brought back a lot of memories for me. Just being in the video store, carrying lots of movies, seeing customers. But it's a really cool concept because, Johnny, I don't know if you remember all those years ago, PlayStation Home. It was supposed to be this huge thing that was like Second Life for like Sims for the PS3. So we're talking about two generations ago now. And when it finally released, it was just a turd. It was terrible. But one of the things that was supposed to be pretty cool was like you could actually like watch a bunch of videos together with people. And so this kind of has that same functionality or feature where like you're in a theater with other people, and like you could potentially watch movies that you have like on your Plex server or maybe on your hard drive, and you're kind of watching them communally. So a really interesting concept.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see how this is gonna play out. So I am excited to go from there. But
For,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just as long as they don't have me putting up vinyls over a hedge that is facing the street, I'm good.
Yeah. Oh, God, I hate. Oh man, I hate that hedge. Uh, I'm pretty sure we should have gotten some compensation for doing that.
We got our compensation, Johnny.
He's not wrong. All right, you guys. So, greatest thing here is that we just finished Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Um, it was really the series itself. I think was a pretty good series so far to begin with, but this past game just by far the best one. Suns took a big lead, and the Bucks just kept chipping down and down and down, and then took the lead, and it came back and forth with the Suns trying to make a late comeback in that fourth quarter. Drew Holiday, who the previous game before was offensively challenged. I mean, defensively he's always there. Really good. Key play of that game, I think everyone's seen so far, that Devin Booker drives the ball and into a wall and then tries to turn and pass it to someone, but Drew Holiday just comes out of nowhere, steals it, and then rather than waiting for you know holding the ball, getting fouled, maybe shooting free throws, the man throws a lob to Giannis while Chris Paul just has a brain fart and tries to foul him during that moment. This is by far the best game. This is kind of, to me, when we talked about last week with the Bucks, it is, when all three are playing their games. This is their full form team, and it's going to be very hard for the Suns to really win now two in a row. What are your thoughts of the game, last game?
So I was kind of giving you some updates without they were spoiler free while you were working, and I honestly think that this was the best finals game for a neutral fan. Okay, I want to put that out there for a neutral fan since Game 6 of 2013 Heat versus Spurs. I thought it was that good. It is a modern classic how good this game was. You had guys going up on a big lead, guys blowing the league. You had the team come back. You had at the end of the game, you had some drama with the Suns coming back as well. It was an absolutely fantastic game. I just want to shout out Drew Holiday just for how phenomenal he's been on defense. I want to push back on something really quickly though. I don't think Chris Paul had a brain fart. What else do? You foul Giannis in there 9 times out of 10, and he's going to miss that free throw, and he did. The problem is that the Suns didn't have the correct personnel on the floor to box him out because he knew he was going to miss that free throw, and it allowed Giannis to get a tap back, and they got another possession. Right. I also want to say this too. One more thing as well.
Hmm?
I while officially Drew Holiday's strip was the play of the game. Officially, the play of the game was Giannis not being called for a flagrant foul on Devin Booker.
That's true.
So it was PJ Tucker getting the foul in the backcourt.
I get that. I mean, it was also, you know, Chris. Why I say it's a brain fart is because, you know, what was Chris Paul gonna do? Just give up the dunk. You still be a one possession game.
Yeah.
The man, the way he pushed them, that would have been called a flagrant foul regardless. He's just lucky Giannis actually finished the actual play. Because if he didn't finish the play, that would have been not only a flagrant foul on Chris Paul, you know, yeah, maybe he makes one or he doesn't make any, but the Bucks are still going to get the ball back. And there was nothing that was telling me that they were stopping them at that point. They were trading buckets. I do think, you know, even though that's a play that's remembered, and Holiday is such a good defensive guy. The possession before, when Middleton hit that step back three,
Ridiculous.
oh my God, like he is to me the closer of that team. Everyone agrees with that, and I think sometimes he plays, he waits a little too long. But the past couple games, he's like taken upon himself. Hey, let's do this. Let's kind of finish this out. And so, I am excited to see what happens tomorrow. Uh, it is tomorrow. Is it Wednesday? I think
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Uh, I'm kind of rooting for the Bucks now, which is really shocking to me. I think just the way Giannis has carried this team the first two games, and then now the team is coming back and playing well together. And we give Budenholzer a lot of flack, but hey, man, this man is actually finally making actual personnel moves in real time. He realizes that Brook Lopez should not be in there all too long, and he's not playing him, which, yeah, all basketball fans would be like, duh, but, we thought the same thing 2 series ago, but he didn't make those type of adjustments. So I'm kind of glad that he's making these adjustments here. The man is going to, I mean, he might fall into a championship by accident. So, whether that's a good thing or not, that's kind of up for the future. But hey, if this means that the Bucks get a championship out of it, that'd be nuts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point about Budenholzer, what's really important is just the fact that he's learned from his mistakes, and that's all you can ask from a coach, right? Is in previous years it was resting guys too much, too often, kind of going with the same guys, or actually in some cases playing 10 guys deep rather than actually trusting 7 guys. Right. So
Exactly.
last year versus the Heat when Giannis had the ankle injury, they were just going way too deep. And I think the problem that we saw was conditioning, right? Is that Giannis and the rest of the team were so used to playing 30-minute nights because they were blowing teams out that they couldn't actually sustain 42 minutes per game in a very, very physical series versus a very physical team, which is the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
I also want to say this too, though, which is I think really important. I'm not so sure now. I'm not so sure now that if the Nets and the Bucks actually met in the in the Eastern Conference Finals, given all the Bucks have gone through and the fact that they've been able to actually like gel and play some games and kind of fill each other out and understand what the roles are of the players, I'm not so sure now that the Nets would actually be a lot to win this series. Now, with that being said, it's still the Bucks to lose the finals, right? I mean, obviously they've only won 3 games. It's very possible to lose 2 in a row, but I've got to say that I'm really impressed with just the way that this team has come together and the fact that like even if one guy has an off night, like Giannis doesn't have to carry every single night, right? Like Chris Middleton can play well. Pat Connaughton, like what the hell has this guy been doing? He's just been like hiding, right?
I mean, he's hiding behind DiVincenzo, but he can't do
Yeah,
that anymore.
and he's balling, man. And even Brooke Lopez is having some signs of brightness. I mean, they did come back when he was on the floor. So I really want to give a shout out to the Bucks team, but good luck to them tomorrow. And Johnny, I was talking to my dad. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, Dad. He was trying to get tickets for the game, and he said that some of those seats are selling for like 10 grand tomorrow. He talked to a guy. He said that OK seats for about 3,500,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like every single second he's trying to log into the website to buy tickets, like they're just going up and up and up, and it's kind of like trying to buy a PS5 or an Xbox or like a graphics card right now, where it's just like the sites just keep on crashing. So
Right.
he's not going to be able to make it, unfortunately, just because of I don't call it ineptitude, but just tech issues.
Oh. Well, hopefully though, I mean, your dad's how long has he been in Milwaukee? Like
His whole life.
his whole life, right?
Yeah.
So this would be something that would he'd be very happy if the Bucks won.
Yeah.
And they're 1 game away. So it's also funny because I love like looking at different tweets that go off, and so ESPN Stats and Info, they had this queued up, right? They tweeted out last night. Chris Paul is on the verge of becoming the first player to lose 4 best-of-7 series in which his team led 2-0.
Damn.
The only other player with 3 best-of-7 series losses in which
Chris
his team
LeVert?
led 2-0 is former teammate Blake Griffin.
Oh, okay, bigger from.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it got me thinking. I was reading on Reddit, which sometimes is a mistake, but there was a discussion about when does trivia get in the way of judging people and accounting as a real stat, right? Because I think this is a really cool barroom trivia, but some people will run with this and say this is why Chris Paul's a terrible player. Like he
Right.
shouldn't even be a top 5 point guard.
Right.
Where is the line for you when it comes to these types of stats and just like random trivia that actually, affects the player itself?
I'm a simple man, Johnny. When it benefits me, I don't mind it. But when it doesn't, I think it's bullshit, right? I mean, it's one of those situations like where you see all the time. ESPN is like such and such player is the first player in 17 years to have exactly 40 points, exactly 10 rebounds, 6 of which are offensive rebounds, and then 2 steals. It's like, why are you cherry picking that stat, right? They said that
Yeah,
Giannis had 40 and 10 in 2 consecutive games, which yes, he did, but so did LeBron. But it was 40 and 10, and then 40 and 10 rebounds and 40 and 10 assists, right?
yeah,
Giannis had 2 games of 40 and 10 rebounds, and so it was like, oh, this is a new thing. It's like, who cares,
right.
right? It's cherry picking, and so it can be annoying at times, especially kind of when it kind of grates against the narrative of what you're thinking of. But that I have to say that actually is a pretty damning stat for Chris Paul.
I mean, to be fair to him, 2 of those series he was hurt. I mean, the most recent one was the Rockets one where he couldn't come back for Game 7 and the Warriors just smacked them. But also, this was funny. I was seeing this trending this morning. It said 2020 Lakers, and I was all like, I don't get it. What is this? Did you see it? Well, I know you were busy with work this morning, so when it came to it, I was looking. I was like, why is 2020 Lakers trending? But it is because Chris Broussard on whatever show has Nick Wright on it for Fox Sports. He was talking about the game itself, and he's like, he's comparing the Bucks. They're talking about the Bucks, how like, yeah, this is like not like the super team of the Lakers of last year. This is kind of like one of the best series since 2015. Now, granted, I actually agree with him. I think this is probably the best series since 2000. Is it 16 when LeBron won that championship?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
2016. So, because, Kevin Durant ruined everything the next 2 out of the 4 years, or
And
3 years, right?
and potentially the 50 year as well.
Here, well, but I just thought it was funny because for people that call last year's Lakers a super team, look, John's a LeBron fan, I am a Lakers fan, but even I can tell you that is not an actual super team. A super team consists of Curry, Clay, Kevin Durant. When Draymond's your fourth best player, that's a super team. When you go to, the Miami Heat with Bosh, Wade, LeBron, that's a super team. This team was LeBron, AD, and maybe KCP was their third best player. Come on, you guys. KCP. Shit, we were talking about the offseason before of like, oh shit, are we gonna miss Avery Bradley? Avery Bradley, think about this. Like how is last
Yeah,
year's team a super team?
yeah.
Two superstars does not make a super team. It's really simple, right? I think people just like throwing these words out. Man, Chris Broussard, that dude. When you're not able to be employed by ESPN, there's something a little bit wrong when it comes to that, right? ESPN would take all that traction, but I mean, I just thought it was a ridiculous quote. Like, did you think last year's team was an actual super team?
Absolutely not. I mean, but when it comes to LeBron James, there's always superlatives. There's always something that some sort of drama around the team, if you will, right? I thought last year had the most evenly balanced league in probably like in the last like 15 to 20 years, right? I mean, every team had two stars max on their team. And maybe if you want to throw in like a Dwight Howard because he's a former defensive player of the year, but like did we forget that like Dwight Howard was brought in and his contract wasn't guaranteed up through January of the year, right?
Yeah.
I
I
mean, so this was not a super team by any stretch of the imagination.
it's just one of those things where it's like, just because you have big name players, that doesn't mean you're a super team, right? Even if I look at that Nets team is stacked, but even I wouldn't call that a super team. Because, actually, I take that back. Before Harden got traded, now it is a super team. I was like blanking on. I was gonna say Durant and Kyrie, but I was like, oh yeah, there's him too.
And that's the thing, right? The expectation was last year it was just going to be those two guys,
Yep.
and like that was still okay. But when you add James Harden into the mix, now you have a super team. Now you have a team to root against because they've done something to mess with the balance of the league,
Right.
right? And
Exactly.
that's not what happened last year, right? The Lakers gave up a haul to bring in Anthony Davis.
So we'll move off of basketball just for a little bit, but the Olympics starts in 4 days in Tokyo. Um, and I don't know about you. Are you excited for the Olympics this year?
Absolutely not.
What is your Olympic ritual every 4 years when it does happen?
The last time I actually spent like consciously was like I gotta watch these games. I gotta get up and watch these. Was '08 Beijing, right? The U.S. was coming off of a loss in Athens. You had the Redeem team with Kobe, LeBron, D Wade, angry D Wade, Chris Bosh, Dwight Howard. Uh, I actually woke up at like 2, 3 in the morning when you and I were working on Hollywood Video to actually watch those games,
Yeah.
right? I'm not doing that with Tokyo, man. That's not happening, bro.
Uh, oh, I hear you. I am a little excited, not because of basketball or just the Olympics in general. It's because Greg, who's one of the co-hosts at Mortal Kombat, where you can guys listen to Mortal Kombat Pod, or he's part of Movie Date Night and Friday's Game Night with his wife Lauren. He asked me and a couple of the hosts to be part of the fantasy draft for the Olympics. So the big countries that normally have it wouldn't be a part of it, right? So we got to pick certain teams to root for, and so basically whoever has the most medals according to the points will win. So this year I actually have a stake in it because I mean, even though there's no money or gambling, this is just for bragging rights. I want to be able to win. So these are, as of right now, these are my countries. I need Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Argentina, and South Africa to get all the medals. Bronze, silver, gold. Um, there's something that I kind of want to do with Greg, which I think we'll see if we can get it next week, where he might come in and be like, how ESPN or like NBC has correspondents. Maybe we get him in for 5 minutes just to talk about the Olympics, because trust me, both you and I, we just only see who actually wins. We never actually watch what's actually happening. Even though it's funny that YouTube TV asked me a couple days ago, "Hey, Olympics are on. Which sports do you want us to record?" And I'm all like, 3-on-3 basketball sounds pretty good. I did click on the skateboarding though. I'm actually kind of excited to see how they're actually gonna judge skateboarding. I don't know if it's like, are you using Tony Hawk Pro Skater rules when it comes to these points? Are they gonna do that? So we'll kind of see how that kind of goes. Are there are there any sports besides basketball you would be remotely interested during the Olympics?
Nah, not really, man. I mean, the gymnast team is pretty awesome, but the problem is, man, is that like athletes are dropping like flies right now, right?
Yeah.
Getting moved into COVID protocol, and like Tokyo, the country doesn't seem very like elated to have the Olympics taking place in their country right now in a pandemic, and so I kind of feel for their plight right now. There's the whole thing with how much it actually costs to have an Olympics in your city and what it actually does to your city. So there's kind of like the politics behind it too. But skateboarding, I'm a huge skateboarding fan. I've never been good at it, but I love watching people skate. And it's interesting that you bring that up, because there was a kid the other day, I can't think of his name, but the kid's from Brazil. And the kid actually did a 1080 in front of Tony Hawk on vert the other day. And the kid came in fifth freaking place in the X Games. So I was really surprised. His name is Guy Curry.
Okay, Curry.
Yeah, so he got actually, I think he may have gotten a gold medal possibly for his for the trick itself, but I think he came in fifth place for the competition. But I mean, beast! I love watching skateboarding, man.
Yeah, so we'll have some of those, and then we'll kind of keep updated. Hopefully, I picked the right countries. I mean, if any one of those guys, just Australia, you can try to win in basketball. At least give me a bronze or silver. Don't you dare touch that gold.
I mean, you never know, man. I mean, Zach LaVine had to pull out today. Kevin Love is out. Bradley Beal is out. I think there's one more big player who's out as well. So, I mean, the U.S. team is looking mighty, mighty anemic right now.
You know, it was really funny. So on Twitter, what was like with this is that people were like, oh, okay, so who's going to replace Kevin Love, right now, since he's not going to be able to play? Keldon Johnson and JaVale McGee are like the two guys that are coming in. And before yesterday's game, everyone's ripping him, right? And then Keldon Johnson had a big game yesterday. And I was just thinking to myself, you guys, we want the best superstars or, NBA stars to play. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like some of these guys just, they take too long to delve into a lesser role in this day and age, right? You would need an actual veteran to be able to, we got to do X, Y, and Z, right? I think the 92 Dream Team was very different because they all knew who the alpha was in that room. That was Jordan. The Redeem Team, even though Kobe was still kind of he was the best player, but he kind of got them into those kind of situated roles.
Debatable.
Okay, we could debate that, right? But at the same time, even when you're playing with stars like LeBron and Wade, those guys, since they played together, knew how to take an actual backseat in a role or be in the forefront. This team that's currently constructed
is a hodgepodge.
It's a hodgepodge of teams, and they're all, when you're the number one option on your team, and there isn't a close second, when you come onto a team now that everyone has that same mentality, it's a little bit different, right? Even though if I'm watching half those games, I feel like they've adopted the Trailblazers' way of thinking. I'm like, hey, Dame, you want to bail us out?
Yeah.
Like, I'm watching half these games. Even though when you have a team that has Dame and Durant, I don't get why they're struggling as hard as they are.
I'll tell you why.
Yeah,
Because they're not getting the calls that they would get ordinarily in the NBA.
that is true.
International basketball is not the same as NBA basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you recall, I don't know if you saw the game or the highlights from Nigeria the other day, but Jason Tatum, who's also day-to-day Tatum right now, he shot a free throw when they were either down or up by a point.
Yeah.
And the Nigerian player knocked off the basket, right? Because you can goaltend.
Correct.
In FIBA basketball.
So yeah, after watching these Olympics, maybe, hopefully, I would like to adopt some of these rules, but that's not even the case. I would like to adopt most of these refs that wouldn't understand the rules, so they wouldn't have kind of like their superstar mentality that's in there. But yeah, we'll move along here, you guys. So
really quickly, Johnny, before we move to the next, I thought you were going to say who's going to replace Kevin Love, and I was going to say this inanimate carbon rod.
Oh, the rod.
And Rod we trust, baby.
Yes, exactly. All right, so we'll talk about the results that we did last week. We put it out on Instagram and Twitter. We got more results on Twitter, or not on Twitter, on Instagram. So we did the first voting rounds of the draft. If our Eastern Conference teams were rappers, what would they be? So the first result is the number one seed Philadelphia 76ers against the Washington Wizards. Will Smith represents Philly, while Wale represents DC. 88% to 12% goes to Will Smith.
Oh, come on, man. What?
88% to 12%. I think I have the other. Oh, yeah, I think I wrote it down. Yes. 15 to 2. Will Smith over Wale.
Oh, man.
Next one is Jay-Z against Joyner Lucas. What do you think the results are on this one, John?
All right. Well, it all depends upon who the actual demographics were taking this here. So I'm going to say something stupid like 8 to 7.
No, it's a resounding win for Jay-Z, 82% to 18, 14 to 3. Joyner Lucas at least got three votes. That's one more than Wale did in the other round. The next one is the Bucks against the Heat. Ishtar versus Denzel Curry. The lowest voted one. Everything else was at 17 votes. This one only had 12. Who do you think won this one?
Denzel Curry.
Resoundingly, 92% to 8%, 11 to 1.
Denzel can rap, man.
Yeah. And then we have our 4th and 5th seed. Out of New York, you got Fabulous. And then we have Atlanta's own duel, Outkast. What do you think the results are here?
Outkast won. I'd have to say it's how many voted?
There's 17 people that voted.
I'm gonna say 12 to 5.
You were close. You were off by 5.
Okay.
It is 17-0. Outkast just swept this thing. No one probably remembered who Fabulous was.
I mean, that's an unwinnable matchup for him, right?
It isn't, but you would have thought if Ishtar can get one vote, Fabulous could have gotten one, but this was a landslide.
That's the 96 Bulls versus, pick any team you want to choose.
Right? And so we have Philly going up against the Hawks, which will be Will Smith against Outkast. I'm very interested to see how that's going to go. And then we have the Nets versus the Heat, or not the Heat, the Nets versus
Florida, Denzel
Curry. Oh yeah, it was the Heat. Yeah, they advanced this one. Be Jay-Z versus Denzel Curry. Let's just talk real quick. Will Smith against Outkast. Do you think, like I said, most of the social media is, friends of mine or people that like to follow us. Do you think that Will Smith actually has a chance in
Under
this
no
against Outkast?
under no circumstances does Will Smith have a chance versus Outkast.
Do you, what is Will Smith's best album?
Probably getting jiggy with it.
Getting jiggy with it.
Yeah.
And so if we and then Outkast, what is their best album?
Aquemini.
Come on, that's right. Okay, and then we have Jay-Z versus Denzel Curry. Jay-Z has to win this one, right? These has to be two
Right.
landslides.
So I mean, put it like this, Johnny. It's going to be Outkast versus Jay-Z. Right.
That's what we're thinking.
Right.
That's what at least we're hoping, right? And so this week we're gonna do the Western Conference and we'll do the draft in that order. Since I had the number one, the odds in the East, John will do the odds for the West. And so the number one seed this year was the Utah Jazz. John, I do not know if Utah has a lot of rappers. I could be wrong. But who should be representing the Utah Jazz?
I mean, it's definitely the Church of Latter-day Saints. I'm joking. I have to cheat on this one here, but I will say this. This guy spent some time in Utah. He went to Weber State University. So I'm going to say the best Utah rapper would be Damian Lillard.
Oh, man. That kind of messes up how I'm going to do this in the other one. All right. We'll do Dame here. And so it's against the number 8 seed, the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, Memphis is known for a lot of things. Barbecue, country music. Not so much rappers. Even though there's a handful there. There's a handful there.
Let me ask you this. While you're musing, who was on your list?
So I had a couple different ones, but it always went to one because there's only one that I actually listened to.
Okay.
It's going to be Yo Gotti.
Oh, okay. I don't hate it, but let me know who else you maybe have considered.
Where's my list? Who did I also have here?
Tennessee also has 8 Ball and MJG. They also have, if I'm not mistaken, 3-6 Mafia.
Oh, that's right. They do have 3-6 Mafia.
And there's a guy from Tennessee who actually is coming out with a new album relatively soon, 2 weeks, who we haven't heard from in a very long time. And I'm very, very excited that this man is coming back with another album. Isaiah Rashad.
Oh, that's right, Isaiah Rashad. The only other person I actually had, I forgot about 3-6 Mafia. The only other person I actually had was Juicy J. Mm-hmm. It was always going to be Yo Gotti because that was the only one that I was like, he had some hits. I enjoyed his.
He's got some hits.
And so we go the 2 and the 7 seed. 2 is the Phoenix Suns, who's in the NBA Finals right now. This one was tough, simply because I couldn't find a lot of people from Arizona or Phoenix. But this guy, I actually like. He's a young rapper. He goes by Futuristic. You ever heard of him? Never. I like him. It's something that I think, he's more underground than anything else. But this was a very hard list for me. The Western Conference is, unless you're in a coast, is much harder than one realizes.
Oh, so, yeah, 100%. I mean, the West it's very coastal driven.
Yeah.
Right. But fortunately, you will have a chance with the number 4 seed, right?
Exactly.
As an even to kind of back things up a little bit. So I'm number 7, yes?
Yes. The number 7 is our Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes.
Who do you have representing the Lake Show?
I'm gonna piss some people off. and frankly, I don't care because I think that this is a guy who is extremely underrated. Who I honestly believe should have been on the list from the Smithsonian that we talked about a couple weeks back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not Kendrick Lamar. The person who I think is going to represent the Lakers for me, and he's a Lakers fan as well, is The Game.
Oh, The Game. It's the only way he gets there. the only thing, I mean, I remember not a lot. I remember some of the game's music. I remember more of his beef with 50 Cent
Yes,
than
yes.
anything else.
But I'll tell you this, Johnny, he's had some really really good music. I would say from 2012 to 2016, he had like 4 or 5 albums in a row and a few mixtapes that were incredible that I would definitely recommend. He had OKE, which is Operation Kill Everything. He had Jesus Piece, which was
Mm-hmm.
phenomenal
That was a
and
good song.
absolutely excellent album. Well, the album in general. He had 1990, 1992, which was basically his riff on the year of 1992 for the LA riots.
Mm-hmm.
He also had documentary 2 and 2.5.
Got it.
I mean, he had some really good music in that time frame. So I would 100% recommend you give him another shot.
All right, the game is the Lakers are going to represent the game here. So we'll move on to the 3 and the 6 matchup. 3 seed is the Denver Nuggets. John, who from Denver can be a part of this tournament here?
I don't even know if Denver has rappers. Do people even like listen to music in Denver? I know I'm just gonna make a lot of people upset by saying that. I just can't think of anyone. All right, so I'm just looking up Denver rappers right now, and I'm just gonna say Mike Charles is gonna be my rapper from
Mike
Denver.
Charles.
Mike Charles, baby.
Oh, man. All right, so that leads us to the number 6 seed, the Portland Trailblazers. Now, I was going to pick Dame since he is on the team, but since he's already been picked for Utah, I'm actually going to pick this guy because I think he's up and coming. I like a lot of the stuff that I've heard so far from him. It's Amin, or Amine. I can't even pronounce his name
I like
correctly.
him. He's dope.
Yeah, but I do like a lot of his music, and from Portland, thank goodness. That way I can kind of salvage there, and I think he's. I like that song Caroline, and I think he's going to sneakily make his way into this tournament. I mean, at least he could try to advance past the first round. Next, we have our last 4th and 5th seed. The 4th seed is the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I have a whole array of people that I can pick. You know, you got Snoop Dogg, you got Ice Cube, you got Dre, you got Kendrick Lamar,
Easy
Easy E. Who else? Who else is out there?
a lot.
There's a lot,
Like Dom Kennedy. Any rapper that you can think of is represented by Los Angeles, pretty much.
right? And so, when it comes to hip hop rap, I should pick one of those guys. Here's my issue, though. All those guys are Laker fans, and for them to represent the Clippers might actually be offensive to some of them, especially Snoop, especially Ice Cube.
Would agree.
So I'm going to go off the wall a little. I believe that this tournament needs a female voice in here. She is new. I just listened to her newest album today, and let me tell you, like, she is closer musically. It might be a hot take. She's in terms musically closer to Drake than she is to Nicki Minaj or Megan Thee Stallion. Because she's not the best rapper or the best singer, but she does both very well and has bangers. I'm going to pick Doja Cat. Okay. I think this will be a really good spot for her. Born in LA. I know, I apologize to all the other LA rappers, but you guys are Laker fans, and I don't think you want to represent the Clippers in this tournament anyway, so it's all good. So the 5th seed is the Dallas Mavericks. Dallas, I think, has rappers. I'm pretty sure they do.
They do.
Who do you have there?
So, in a couple of the other states, we kind of messed with the rules a little bit. Obviously, I messed the rules in here for Utah as well. Damian Lillard is not from Utah. But with that being said, Texas is such a large and diverse state. It would be wrong of me to claim a Texas rapper from Houston and make them, represent Dallas. So there's a guy out there who actually shares something in common with one of your picks, in that he actually shares a uh, his children share a mother with one of your picks, Andre 3000, and he had a song way back in the late '80s called "Funky Enough." I'm gonna choose the DOC. The reason why the DOC you guys haven't heard from him is because a while ago he had a situation with his throat. He had a larynx issue where he had to stop rapping. But the DOC was one of the coolest and coldest rappers, and the song "Funky Enough" is still awesome today. He is a Dallas rapper, and the DOC is going to round up my fourth pick.
All right, there you got it. So we'll put these up on IG. There's not enough traction on Twitter, but we can put this up on IG and we'll take a look and see how that goes. And then after that, we'll then discuss about some of their discography. This is gonna be a little different. If you listen to Mortal Kombat, we always argue stuff, but I think it's for this purposes. I kind of want to talk about the music, who we have, why we pick it. Sometimes it's relative to your city, but there's other times. It'd be a good discussion to talk about music. Which, speaking of music, I know you haven't watched the new Space Jam movie, which I have a hard time wrapping my brain with this movie in terms of how to grade it. Because, let me ask you this, John. If you ordered a McDouble with fries and a drink, I know you won't eat any of this, but let's say you did. Let's pretend we're working on a Hollywood video and this is what we ordered. And you got your McDouble, fries, and a shake, and it's what you expected. Does that mean that outcome should be an A, or should it be a C because the food quality is not relative to what you've eaten, but you got what you expected?
How hungry am I?
We just finished playing basketball.
So I'm very hungry for this movie. Then that's
Yeah.
what you're saying. Well, then it's A. If it's the expectation and it meets the expectation going in, then it's fine. But if it's just like, hey, I could eat, right?
Yeah.
And that McDouble is like, yeah, it hit the spot. Then it's a C. So it, you know what I mean. So it all depends upon like how hungry you are for the movie.
You're right. So we're gonna talk about it more in depth on my other podcast, Film Lovers Guide to the Galaxy. But I'll tell you this: this movie is better than the original one. You guys have seen it and you thought the original one's better. I need you to take your nostalgic glasses off. This movie is better. That being said, Jordan was the better actor, and that's not LeBron's fault. They asked LeBron to do things that he cannot do unless he was an actor, which is to emote. And it's like, come on, man. But I brought that up because I sent you a link. I don't know if you listened to it, but I was listening to the original Space Jam soundtrack, and I was listening to the new soundtrack, and I wanted to hear your thoughts of what you thought about the original one, if you've heard the new one, and what your take is on both of them.
I have not heard the new Space Jam soundtrack. Going back to the original, and I'm just pulling it up now. Original, sorry. All right, cool. While I'm doing that, Johnny, why don't you rattle off a couple of songs for us?
Oh yeah, so if we talk about the original one, we all know Space Jam itself, DJ Quad City.
Welcome to the Space Jam.
Whenever you need a good song for a soundtrack, Seal, Fly
Wow.
Like an Eagle, you will never deal with it.
All right. So I definitely apologize. I don't know why I always mix up this soundtrack with Batman Forever, and it might be because did they come out around a similar time? This came out in '96.
Yeah, it might have been. But, Seal was on fire with those things. I mean, you do Fly Like an Eagle and then Kiss from a Rose. I'm all
And then,
like...
but then you also have I Believe I Can Fly on here as well.
I know. Some
Wow.
some people will knock it because it came from R. Kelly. Like, look,
True.
I get it. But that song, that shit was inspirational.
It was. And there's some songs in here, man, and this is actually really bringing back some nostalgia for me. So first and foremost, "Hit 'Em High." That was a star-studded song when I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. I loved that song. It had LL Cool J, Busta Rhymes, Coolio, Method Man. That was oh man, that was such a great song. But then also a song that I love It's Basketball Jones with
Oh
Chris Rock.
yeah, so good. It's Chris Rock, right? That was
Yeah.
like doing the voices too.
It's Barry White. Barry, what's chicken? So good, man.
Oh man, yeah. I was listening to both these soundtracks. I was going to work today as well, and you know, even this is when I would say, even if nostalgia is a factor, some of these songs, I mean, most of these songs are bangers. Like, you put Space Jam on, and you remember the opening credits. It just like gets you amped, right? Fly Like an Eagle. It's very soothing, like very, get you, makes you believe in yourself. Same thing with I Believe I Can Fly. That's some inspirational stuff. And I was looking and I was listening to the new soundtrack. And, think about this. You got Little Baby, which Little Baby and Dub Baby, they're two different rappers, right? Because I keep confusing them.
Low Baby, Dub Baby, Baby,
right?
Baby Twist.
You got Chance the Rapper on here. John Legend has 2 songs on here. Little Uzi Vert, Sade. St. John was on here as well. Jonas Brothers was also on here. Anthony Ramos, Joyner Lucas.
Yeah, boy.
For me though, out of all these songs, and if I'm thinking to myself to associate with a movie, it would just only be the one song with St. John and SZA. Like, everything else just like completely just doesn't hold up. Right? Will I say that again?
I was saying just like unrelated.
Yeah. It's just it didn't feel like it was part of the movie. And I don't know if that was a function of the movie as well, because I remember bits and pieces of the songs in the movies, but it's never like associated with it, right? You like I said, Space Jam is like the easiest one to remember because you remember the title logos, especially when it said Michael Jordan and then Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny had a starring credit in that Space Jam movie. Who gave an animated animal that kind of credit, right? Because they didn't get it in the second movie. But it's like, I Believe I Can Fly. You remember that scene where, his dad's talking to him like, hey, you can. Just remember, like, believe in yourself, make these free throws, stuff like that. And so, that's when the song comes in. So, and then the Basketball Jones one was when all the players lost their shit and they're like talking to a therapist, right? Like these things the songs associate with the seeds. Unfortunately, with this soundtrack is like, the songs are fine. It just doesn't resonate with the movie because it doesn't just plug in.
Yeah, they're just like an amalgamation, right?
Correct.
That's kind of the critique in all things these days, man. It's just like it's hard to like develop a theme for things nowadays, just because how do you relate things back to a movie if you aren't playing these songs throughout the movie, or if they have no specific scenes that are like memorable to them. So
yeah. No, I hear you. And so we'll kind of move on from there. We have this last thing before we finish our podcast for today. John, where can they find us?
You guys can find us on Twitter at Couchin Courtside Pod. You can find Johnny on Twitter at JNo11, and myself on Twitter as well at JSpeed04. And you can also find us on Instagram at Couchin Courtside Pod.
All right, you guys. So one last thing from the Twitter universe. John, have you seen this dancing robot?
No.
From Boston Dynamics Machines. They released.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So it was dancing, and then you see all these other robots coming up, and on Twitch I have like the GIF that's like up right now, that's on there, and I mean, let me tell you something. That shit, us as humans, I am amazed at what we can do with science. But why is it that we're getting closer and closer to building Skynet? Like, imagine, are you excited about the technology that we're making, or you're afraid that, hey, fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger is gonna kill us at some point?
It's a necessity, and I think I need a lot more runway to actually answer this question. But I think it's a necessity. It just all depends upon who is in control of this. Is it going to be democratized by everyone, or is it just going to be in control of one company? If I'm not mistaken, Boston Dynamics was purchased by Hyundai.
Yeah.
So what is Hyundai looking to do with a robotics company that makes the dogs, right? Who knows?
Hopefully make more Elantras. That's what it is. So,
Yeah.
all right, you guys. Thanks again for joining us. We'll talk to you next time.
Stay safe, guys.